Hello, myself Sandeep Bhatt, Assistant Professor, Department of Electronics and Telecommunication Engineering, Rumta College of Engineering and Technology, Bhilai. I affiliated to Chhattisgarh Swami Vivekanand Technical University, Bhilai. I welcome you course on Fundamental of Communication and its applications. Today, our topic of discussion is overview of communication. Hope you have learned about the basic concept of analog and digital communication in previous lectures. The contents of this presentation, we start with the objective of the lectures, life before mobile phone, introduction to telephone services, evolution of cellular telephone, and why cellular system, frequency regulations, and some standard of the wireless systems. Right. The objective of the lectures are, once we go with these lectures, you will be able to that some historical background of mobile communication, evolution of cellular development, frequency regulations, what are the bands available for communications, and the standard like first generation to fifth generations. If you think about the life before the mobile phone, that is, we cannot imagine the life without phone. It is impossible to underestimate the importance of mobile communication and how they have changed our life, from the ability to make a call, receive call almost anywhere in the world seamlessly, to being able to access the internet whilst on the move of the many inventions of the last 50 years. Mobile communication must be near the top in the effect has on the people's lives. Imagine before smartphone, if you have the smartphone as of now, you can do anything with the smartphone, and if you imagine the smartphone without smartphone, you cannot do anything without smartphone. We have to do so many things separately using different modes of communication, and now we can take care of everything from all the little powerful device that is called as a mobile phone. If you think about the before smartphone and the mobile phone, we have only one technology, that is landline telephone technology. What are the key technological evolutions before that telephone and the mobile phone? You will find this telephone system or the mobile phone without radio waves can't go with this. The first was the evolution of radio waves, second the modulation techniques. If you know that nowadays we use frequency modulation for listening the radio signals. That time the amplitude modulation, frequency modulations that was used for the communications. The first radio communications that was done with the amplitude modulation. Later on we have a different modulation techniques. Now let us discuss about the magic of radio waves, what exactly happening with this radio waves and the importance of this radio waves. In the second half of the 19th century, wireline telegraphy and telephony changed the nature of communication. Within a few years, moment of the information had gone from speed of people to speed of light. Then in 20th century, the second evolution took place as a radio freed those same communication from constraint of wire. The radio waves have almost the magical properties that capture the imagination and lead to variety of different uses. Traveling through our atmosphere or universe, they connect point and could be connected in no other ways. Traveling at a known speed, they allow us to locate flying object, pinpoint our own location on the surface of the earth, and even chart the universe. Perhaps no other property, however, has been more profound than what we might call their ability to fill space. While the radio signal may appear to move from point to point in linear fashion, it is in fact expanding spherically. It passes through many solid and fields in behind abstraction through the mechanism of reflection and diffraction, so that the information it carries is available everywhere throughout a large area of coverage. As a result, millions of people can access share the same broadcast news and entertainment at every low cost. Notwithstanding that the new generation of American believes that entertainment arrives on the cable, it is impossible to observe that the impact that broadcast information and entertainment had on the world. This property of radio waves that we have described as a filling space leads not only to broadcast, but to the last and newest from the radio communication. It allows us to reach a particular person anytime, anywhere, and since the antenna can move through that space while sending or receiving the signal, it makes that is the mobile communications possible. Now, let us see about something, the origin of mobile communication. In the mid of 1860, the Scottish mathematician James Clerk, that is the Maxwell, produced a pair of equations whose solution predicted electromagnetic waves propagating at the speed of light. It took 20 years to verify this prediction in the laboratory and another 20 years for the first mobile application to take place. In September 1899, the Marconi is the practically set up the mobile radio communications, which is historical radio telegraph transmission from ship in a New York harbor to the Twin Light in Highland, New Jersey. His first transmission covered the arrival of Admiral Dewey from Manila, and soon thereafter coverage of the America's Cup races was provided as well. This was accomplished with high energy wideband pulses of radio noise created using spark generation coupled to antenna. The signal was received with a smaller antenna attached to the fascinating devices known as the corer, a tube in which metallic particles were caused to current to one another by presence of the radio signal. The reduced resistance of the corer in the state allows the radio signal to be detected, after which mechanical tapper return the particle to their original state. Each electrographic symbol was presented by the rapid series of these spark generated signal, which was detected as an audible tone. The commercially radiotelegraphy or radiotelephony for passengers on ship in the Atlantic was begun in 1929. By 1934, there were the 194 municipal police systems and 58 state police radio stations serving more than 5,000 radio equipments police cars. The age of mobile radio had begun with this. Now, let us discuss about the what before the mobile telephony or early mobile telephony. Now, that is completely depends on the spectrum and the available the technology. The spectrum that could be exploited for particular systems was always in a short supply, and mobile communication services were in a competition with the military and broadcast services for the available channel. As a result, most mobile radio channels were devoted to emergency and public services uses until the cellular revolution that began some 50 years later. Despite these difficulties, an early mobile telephone service was initiated in 1947. Using several channels at 35 MHz, additionally, channels were soon be allocated at 150 MHz, later on 450 MHz. Improved filtering and frequency stability allows these channels to be narrowed, eventually creating a total or more than 40 channels for mobile telephony. In an effort to create competition, the FCC, that is the Federal Communication Commissions, divided these channels equally between the local telephone companies and group of new entities called Radio Common Carrier, that is RCC, allowing to competing carriers in each geographical area. Now, this is what about the complete FCC and what the mobile bands and spectrum allocated with the communications. Now, the comes with the mobile telephone services, the basic of this system. As a matter of fact, mobile telephone services began in 1940 and were called as the MTS. MTS means the mobile telephone system, or sometimes manual telephone system, as all calls were handled by the operator. The MTS systems utilize frequency modulation and were generally assigned a single carrier frequency in 35 MHz to 45 MHz. The range that used for 35 to 45 MHz, that is a 10 MHz, right? And this frequency will be used by the base station. The mobile units use push to talk techniques while the calculating the frequency bands and the communicating from the one end to another end. The MTS mobile telephone was similar to making a call through manual switchboard in the public telephone, and the operator was used to switching these signals from one to another, and the carrier that is set by the frequency by the base station will be used in the station. An operator answers the call by plugging a headset into jack on the switchboard. After the calling party verbally told the operator and telephone number they wish to call, the operator connect the mobile units with the patch cord and the call get connected. Because of this only one carrier frequency, the conversion was limited to a half duplex operation, and only one conversion could make at one time. So, this is what exactly in the starting or the early of the mobile telephone we say as these are the drawbacks in a first MTS system. In 1964, the improved mobile telephone system, that is IMTS, was introduced, which used several carrier frequencies and could therefore handle the several simultaneous mobile conversion at the same time. This is what the exactly starting of the mobile communication. However, in recent year, factors such as technological advancement, wider frequency spectrum, increased availability and improved reliability have stimulated a phenomenal increase in a people desire to talk on the telephone from virtually anywhere at any time, regardless of whether it is necessary, safe or productive. Today, mobile telephone stations are small handsets easily carried by person in their pocket or purse. In early radio terminology, the term mobile suggested any radio transmitter, receiver or transceiver that could be moved while in operation. The term portable described relatively small radio unit that was handled, battery powered and easily carried by person moving at walking speed. Hence, the modern all-inclusive definition of mobile telephone in any wireless telephone capable of operating while moving at any speed, battery powered and small enough to easily carried by the person. On June 17, 1946, the AT&T Labs Southwestern Bell introduced the first American commercial mobile radio telephone. That service is commercially available for the private customer. In the same year, similar services were offered to 25 major cities throughout the US. In 1947, the AT&T again introduced the radio telephone service they called as the highway service between New York and Boston. The system operated again that the 35 to 45 megahertz band, which was previously used. The first half duplex PPT-FM mobile telephone system introduced in 1940s operated in 35 to 45 megahertz band and required 120 kilohertz bandwidth per channel. In the early of 1950s, the FCC doubled the number of mobile telephone channels by reducing the bandwidth to 60 kilohertz per channel. In 1960, AT&T again introduced the direct calling, that is the full duplex mobile telephone service with other performance enhancement, and in 1960, AT&T proposed the concept of cellular mobile system to FCC with the intent of allowing the problem of spectrum congestion in the existing mobile telephone. That time in 1960 or 1968, whatever system we have, the full duplex system, full duplex means at the same time we can call or at the same time we can receive. So, that duplex system the having a drawbacks, the main drawback was the utilization of the spectrum. So, there was a spectrum congestion in existing mobile telephone. So, what was the solution that time? So, in 1960 or 1970, FCC introduced that is the system is nothing but the cellular mobile telephone system. Cellular mobile telephone system such as improved mobile telephone system, that is nothing but a IMTS, were developed the recently development miniature integrated circuits. Integrated circuit means that time the LSI technology was developed, that is large scale integrated circuit, that is nowadays we call as a IC. The channel bandwidth was given at the time is 30 kilohertz, and that is increases with the telephone towards, or we may say as a double of the using the frequencies. In 1974, again FCC allocated the additional 40 megahertz bandwidth for cellular telephone services, that is 825 megahertz to 845 megahertz and 870 megahertz to 890 megahertz. So, you will find here the bands was given by the FCC, that is clearly defined, that is only used for the, or we may say as a VHF bands. These bands are VHF bands. These frequencies bands were previously allocated to the UHF television. So, UHF and VHF both bands nowadays we use in a television system. So, there are 70 to 83 channels. In 1975, FCC again granted the first license for that channel. In 1991, the first digital or more efficient utilization of the available bandwidth using voice compression. The Qualcomm developed the first cellular telephone system based on the CDMA. CDMA means the code division multiple access. The Telecommunication Industry Association, that is TIA, they standardized the Qualcomm system and international standard, that is we call it the IS 95. IS 95 is playing a very important role in the communications or the standardization of the wireless system. On November 1998, the subsidiary of Motorola, the corporation implemented Iridium system and a satellite based wireless personal communication system, that is called as a PCSS. There are so many reasons for developing the cellular systems. Why we go for cellular system, why not the single antenna system or single spectrum with the for mobile communications. Cellular is having so many advantages. Let us having discussed those advantages. The previous system was the limitation of the conventional mobile telephone systems, the spectrum efficiency concentration, technology feasibility and service affordability. These are the means we called as a drawback systems. And why we go for the cellular system, the limitation of conventional mobile system, we need to overcome those limitations. So, there are three limitations of conventional mobile telephone system. The limited area capability, that is use only what we say the minimum area. Then poor service performance, the audible or audio system is also poor, the modulation technique was poor, the inefficient frequency spectrum utilization, we cannot make more calls, that is the main limitation of the system. So, what is limited service capability? The primary disadvantage of the conventional mobile telephone system is that the communication coverage area. So, we already discussed it has a very less area and with the less number of calls. So, this was the exactly service capability. To reinitiate call when moving into one, or we may having when the roaming from one end to another end or from one cell to another cell, then there will be happening of the dropping of the call. So, this was the main drawback of that system. So, nowadays you will find if you roam anywhere, you will not find any interruption in a call. You can use internet thoroughly and you can use, or you can having the call without interruption. This is just because of the handoff technology. So, nowadays you will find handoff capability. The handoff is a process of automatically changing frequencies as the mobile unit moves into different frequency zone, so that the conversation can be continued in the new frequency zone without interruption communication. One more disadvantage of the conventional system is that the number of active users is limited to the number of channels assigned to the particular frequency. A cellular system is generally characterized as a high capacity landline mobile system, in which available frequency spectrum is partitions into discrete channels which are assigned in a group to geographical cells covering a cellular geographical services, that is called as a GSA, that is geographical service area. The discrete channels are capable of being reused in different cells within a service area. So, the cellular system is completely dependent upon the reuse of the frequency band. One more limitation, that is the poor service performance. In conventional mobile telephone system, the large number of subscribers created a high blocking probability during the busy hours. Because of the high capacity system for mobile telephone was required. The next limitation is inefficient frequency spectrum utilization. As far as frequency spectrum utilization is concerned, the conventional system does not utilize the spectrum efficiently. That means, we cannot use the 100% spectrum. We need to say that some of the bands gets unutilized, the starting and ending of the frequencies, since each channel can only serve one customer at a time in whole area. Hence, a new cellular system that measure a frequency spectrum utilization differently and prove to efficient is required. Now, let us discuss about the spectrum efficiency consideration for cellular mobile system. A major problem faced by the radio communication industry is the limitation of available radio frequency spectrum. Nowadays, we also having a scarcity of spectrum. In fact, in setting frequencies allocation, the FCC seeks the system which required minimum bandwidth, but provide high usage and customer satisfaction. The required idea, that is the mobile telephone system, would operate within limited assigned the frequency bands and would serve as almost unlimited number, that is called as the unlimited area. Basically, three major approaches to achieve the ideal mobile telephone system. These are, the first one is the single sideband system, which divide the allocated frequency band into the maximum number of channels. Second one is the cellular, which reuses the allocated frequency bands in a different geographical area. Now, you will find in cellular system what happen, suppose this is a cellular system and nowadays we have a hexagonal cellular system. Hexagonal means it is having 6 angles. So, how to reuse the frequency? So, you have a total of 6 angles. Angle means you can find here the hexagonal shape, the center one is the first frequency and around 6 borders are there. These 6 borders are nothing but 6 different frequencies. Now, you can find that no one frequency get interact with each other. So, there are the frequency can be reused in a 7 times, right. This is what exactly happening in a nowadays in a cellular system. Spread spectrum of frequency hopping, which we currently we use in a Bluetooth and other system, we code the wide frequency bands. Due to technology, feasibility and service affordability, portable handy mobile units possible as VLSI introduced. We already discussed that the LSI system was there, the integrated circuit, that was the main evolution for or main foundation for the coming the first generation to 5th generation system. Till now, we have discussed about the overview and historical background of the mobile system. Now, let us come with some frequency regulations for the radio transmissions. You know, the more about radio communication in mobile telephony, one should know about the frequency bands for radio transmission. Radio transmissions can take place using many different frequency bands. Each frequency band exhibits certain advantage and disadvantage. You can check in a slide the figure number 1, which gives you the rough idea of frequency spectrum that can be used for data transmission. The figure shows that frequency right from a very low frequency to ultra high frequency. Now, you will find the very low frequency having a band of, we may say, as a 1 millimeter or 300 hertz. It started from the 300 hertz, then we have a 30 kilohertz, 3 megahertz, 300 megahertz band, 30 gigahertz band, 3 tetrahertz band and 300 tetrahertz bands, right. So, the VLF, that is we call as a very low frequency, medium frequency, these having the utilization up to twisted pair and cable only. Now, that VHF band we use for the radio communications. VHF means the frequency right from the 300 megahertz, right. VHF, EHF, that is used nowadays in the television, and SHF, EHF, that is used beyond the communications, right. Even nowadays you have the fiber communications, that is we have a fiber optic broadband communications, that is nothing but the band of the 300 tetrahertz. This is we call as optical transmission. If you go with these frequency bands, now one should know about how to use those bands. Even without permission of the FCC or without permission of the ITT, we cannot use those bands for the commercialized purpose, right. In India, we have a try for the regulation of these frequency bands, and the topmost you will find the FCC, that is Federal Communication Commission, which watch throughout the world. The spectrum is limited in nature resources. Wireless communication depends on the appropriate and available frequency band. The signal propagation characteristics are different with different frequency band. The International Telecommunication Union, that is ITU, located in Geneva, is responsible for worldwide coordination of telecommunication activities, that is wire and wireless. ITU is sub-organized of UN. It is the organization of UN, and the ITUR, that is nothing but the International Telecommunication Union for radio communications. This is specially for radio sectors. It use the whatever wireless communication we use, that will be watched by this ITU-R. So, this will handle all the standardization for wireless sectors. The other is communication is or other standard is or other firm is, that is we call as a CCIR. CCIR means that is Consultative Committee for International Radio Communications. This is also used for the communication, or we may say as set up some standardizations to watch on the wireless sectors. ITU-R has again split the complete world into 3 regions. So, region 1 cover the Europe, Middle East, the countries of the former Soviet Union and Africa. The second region is, it includes the Greenland, North and South America. The third region comprises with the fast, or we may say the Far East, Australia and New Zealand. Within these regions, the national agencies are responsible for further regulation. That is why I told you, that is for India we have a TRAI which regulates all the frequency regulation from the wire and wireless. The Federal Communication Commission in US or several nations have a common agency, such as the Conference for European Post and Telecommunication, that is CEPT in Europe. While CEPT is still responsible for the generation or the general planning, many tasks have been transferred to other agencies, those the confusing bodies following the regulation process. For example, the European Telecommunication Standard Institute, that is ETSI, is responsible for standardization and consists of national standardization bodies, public providers, manufacturers, user groups and research institutions. To achieve at least some harmonization, the ITU-R holds the periodical conference and the radio or World Radio Conference, that is WRC, to discuss the decided frequency allocation for all 3 regions. FCC allocated the frequency bands for the communications, that is given by the primary was, and it has been decided and chosen for the 800 megahertz. Why we have the 800 megahertz, why not others? So, there are so many reasons with the spectrum. Even we can go with the less band, even we can go with the higher band. Nowadays, you will find the 4G, 5G systems, we have a higher frequency bands. So, those bands are very important, and that allocation is given by the FCC. On the other hand, mobile radio transmission cannot be applied at 10 gigahertz. I already discussed, that is the higher frequency we cannot go. There are reasons. The reasons are exactly the radio waves. And if you go with the detail of that radio waves, you will be able to understand why we go for less frequency band and why not for the higher frequency band for mobile communication. So, there are so many reasons, that is the propagation path loss is there, multipath fading is there, rain activity that makes the medium improper, and for mobile communication. Fortunately, 800 megahertz band was originally assigned to educational TV channels. In fact, these situations open up 800 megahertz bands to some extent, and FCC allocated 40 megahertz system at 800 megahertz band for mobile radio cellular system. It may be noted that this 800 megahertz band is not an ideal transmission medium for mobile radio system. It has been demonstrated that cellular mobile radio system that does not go beyond these frequency bands can be deployed. Needless to say, the medium of transmitting 800 megahertz band signal, although it is working and is already very difficult. Now, you will find there are some standardizations of the wireless communications. If you go with this brief overview, you will find the first standardization is first generation, then 2G we have, 3G, 4G, nowadays we have a 5G. Now, what exactly difference of this first generation, second generation, third generation, fourth generation and fifth generation? The generation defines with the speed of what we say the data speed. You will find in 5G we have a much more data and as compared to the first generation. In second generation we have only the what we say we cannot having a message system, internet system at that time. It was only a voice communication, and again previously one that was analogous system. In second generation it comes with the digital, in third generation we come with the video call, in fourth generation we have internet services and with the high speed internet. Nowadays the 4G and 5G we have the so many services, based on that we can make a call directly from the system. Now, we have already discussed the introduction part of this mobile telephone system. there are few basic standardizations from first generation, second generation, third generation, fourth generation. We will have a lecture, separate lecture on this first generation to fifth generation, not an issue. Now, we have already discussed about the generation systems and their limitations, their advantages. Now, conclude these lectures. If you see this, in these lectures, we have discussed about key pioneer of wireless communications, what was the telephone system before mobile system and how it was, and if you think about the person without the mobiles or smartphone, that is horrible, and nowadays people cannot live without the mobile phones. It is quite clear that mobile communication has changed the way of people lives and work. No longer are the people tied to those houses or workplace, but are free to conduct their lives where they want actually. In fact, many people would find it is impossible to have their current lifestyle without mobile phone. Hopefully, this article has given you an insight into the world of mobile communication and what is meant for mankind. Thank you for listening the lectures.